book by Elizabeth Gilbert entitled Big Magic: Creative Living Beyond Fear. And we want to explore the attitudes, the approaches, and the habits needed to overcome, to uncover, not to overcome, to uncover our hidden treasures, to face our fears, and to trust the universe. Trust being a really big part of our lives, to really trust that all of our needs are met and taken care of. This infinite power is us, moves through us, and will always support us. And all of this leads us to the most creative, magical lives. The lives that the divine intended for us to live. Ernest Holmes, in his book, Thoughts Are Things, wrote this: "You live because life lives in you. You move because there is a universal energy flowing through you. You think because there is infinite intelligence thinking through you. You exist because the divine spirit has sought to individualize itself in and as you. This is why you are called the temple of the living God. There is a divine spark at the center of your being. But you need to recognize this, believe it, and act upon that belief." Powerful writing by Ernest Holmes. And that is what we are exploring today. How to act upon the knowing of who we truly are. We define creative living as A life that is driven more strongly by curiosity than by fear. B, a life in which you bring forth from you that which brings you joy and fulfillment, which in turn blesses the world. We have said that every one of us, no exceptions to that one, no exceptions, has within us hidden treasures that when we uncover, they will bring forth great fulfillment in our lives, great joy. And when we are filled with joy and fulfillment, we cannot help but spread that with everyone we come in contact with. We cannot help it. We uplift this planet, and this planet truly needs to be uplifted at this time. It needs to be uplifted all the time, but in particular, it feels like in this time. We have looked at the one thing, the one very boring thing that holds us back from discovering these hidden treasures and living a life of joy and fulfillment and being a blessing to the world, and which is fear. It's like boring to keep saying it, but it's what we as humans, not as spiritual beings, which we are, but we're having this human experience, and so we sometimes go into fear. And that's okay. Except we got to bring ourselves back to center and know truly that we are love at the core of our being. This is a human experience. Right now, it is so easy to fall into that fear trap. It's a trap. With all this craziness, that's what it feels like, that is occurring on this planet today. It's really challenging to stay centered sometimes, especially if you're prone to watching the TV or become like me, addicted to reading. I am really trying to put aside the reading part, because I'm like, well, I don't watch TV, I'm cool, I'm good. But no, I have to just stop for my own mental well-being, reading these things over and over again, but still stay informed, very important. But we can truly live this life one day at a time. It is truly the best way to take any situation. What can I do today? How can I live my fullest and my best today? Is how we run the spiritual center from one Sunday to the next. We do this one Sunday at a time. That's how Joyful Gatherings started out with. That was take it one Sunday at a time and keep it simple. We don't need big fancy everything surround. We got a beautiful space. We have beautiful people. We have great musicians. We're doing just fine. Look at this community. We have a beautiful community, and we need to be together in community. We can embrace the idea of being uplifted by inspirations, by realizing that ideas, this is good, ideas are unformed energy floating around with only one desire, and that is to be made manifest. This universe is filled with ideas. The mind of the divine sees and thinks in pictures and ideas, and that's how we, as microcosms of the great I Am, that's how we function in our lives, through our ideas that inspire us. And in order to do that, these ideas that are floating around, they need a human conduit. That is why we need to be open and receptive to new ideas, to the influx of that which seems maybe not logical to the mind, but the heart knows, the gut knows, it knows. So we're open and receptive to these unformed ideas so that they can be made manifest through us, as us. I'm still actually reading Ernest Holmes. These ideas land on us when they think that they may have found a receptive vehicle for them to express through. We then have a choice either to become uplifted with inspiration that they bring and move forward or not. It is our choice. We are always at choice. We say that all the time. This is a very empowering spirituality because it's giving to us the choice to make. We make the choices. No one can make the choices for us. Let's say we are uplifted by the inspiration of an idea that we might receive. And there is one viewpoint that will stop forward movement and one that completely supports it. And that's what we're going to explore today. The one that will stop forward movement is thinking that we need permission. This is good. Not necessarily a conscious thing. Most of the time it's subconscious, unconscious. But lurking in that subconscious is the thought that we need it. We need permission to live our dreams. You may think you need this because perhaps your parents were terrified of any kind of risk. Maybe your parents were compulsive rule followers. Or maybe they were too busy doing whatever they were doing, and their imagination towards creativity might have been stifled, so they could only follow one path. Maybe they were afraid of what the neighbors would say, so they never gave you permission to be free, to be curious, to explore, and to create. Now you are long since out of that dynamic. That environment is gone. But lingering deep within a lot of us, just saying, a lot of us could be the belief that we need permission and we don't have it to really live our dreams. Well, you don't need it. And if you really think that you do need it, then I'm going to give it to you right now using my magic wand. I'm going to give you all permission to live the life of your dreams. You hereby have permission to be curious, to explore, and to create freely and with wild abandon. with no end in sight other than to bring joy and fulfillment. I'm giving you that permission. The universe is giving you that permission to express itself as you, through you. You now all have permission to create a life that you have dreamed of, that maybe you haven't done it. And let's turn that into a personal declaration. It's good when we speak the word. So I'd like you to repeat this after me. I hereby have permission.
I hereby have permission.
To be curious, to explore, and to create.
To be curious, to explore, and to create.
Freely and with wild abandon.
Freely and with wild abandon.
With no end in mind.
With no end in mind.
Other than to bring joy and fulfillment.
Other than to bring joy and fulfillment.
It's my magic wand. So Gilbert invites us, Elizabeth Gilbert invites us to, and I quote this from her, possess a fierce sense of personal entitlement, which I hope you learn to cultivate. I know that this word has negative connotations, but let's appropriate it here and put it to good use, because you will never be able to create anything interesting out of your life if you don't believe that you're entitled to at least try. Creative entitlement doesn't mean behaving like a princess, or, I have a magic wand, or acting as though the world owes you anything whatsoever. No, creative entitlement simply means believing, she writes, that you are allowed to be here, and that merely by being here, you are allowed to have a voice and a vision all of your own. And then she goes on to quote David White. David White calls this sense of creative entitlement the arrogance of belonging, and claims that it is absolutely vital, a vital privilege to cultivate if you wish to interact more vividly with life. Without this arrogance of belonging, you will never be able to take any creative risks whatsoever. Without it, you will never push yourself out of the suffocating insulation of personal safety and the frontiers of the beautiful and the unexpected. We have to have the courage to step out. We need to really believe that we have within us the power, the voice to speak out when we feel we need to speak out, to stand in our truth and to claim our truth. We can do that, but maybe we think we need permission. You already all have it. This morning, you leave here, you have permission to be who you truly are. In Creative Mind and Success, Ernest Holmes tells us, always remember this: life is from within outward and never from without inward. You are the center of power in your own life. So that means that all these conditions that go on in life don't have to define us. They don't have to define us. We do it from inside. So we get to define what we want to experience in life. Knowing you have permission, in fact, knowing you are entitled to be curious, explore, and create a catalyst for bringing forth that joy and fulfillment. That is the truth of who we are. And then Gilbert suggests there is a second quality that completely supports us in living this creative life. And that quality is persistence. This is the question I invite you to ask yourself this morning. What would my life be like if I didn't think that it was impossible? What would my life be like if I didn't think that the answer, whatever the answer is impossible? And then you persistently pursue the answer that you receive. Because I'm going to tell you, when you go into some kind of contemplation, meditation, and you bring with you some kind of question like that, you will most definitely get an answer. And then to have the courage to fulfill that answer, to walk out and live your dreams. Here's a note from the universe, which is online. We receive these in the mail if you sign up for it, tut.com. This is what this note said. So what if it takes a long time? So what if it is already taking longer than you thought? So what if it will still take longer? The day will nevertheless arrive, as it always does, when all your prior efforts, determinations, and persistence will seem paltry, a paltry price indeed, as you are uplifted irrevocably higher, as if by chariots of fire, into realms previously unimagined. And then you'll think to yourself, wow, that was fast. Love the universe. And I know that when we were manifesting a perfect space, we were manifesting for 9 years, a perfect space. We were in a lovely place. We give thanks for our room that we had, but we always envisioned something bigger and something airier, this. But we didn't give up. It's not like we went out every day searching. We prayed. We prayed every week. Our reverends, our practitioners prayed every week. It's on the top of our prayer list that we manifest our perfect space. And so it happens in that divine time. And I feel, yes, it has happened. Yeah, lots of times it felt like, oh my gosh, when is this going to happen? But we never gave up. We were persistent in praying. Prayer is a verb. Remember that. When people say, well, you're not doing anything, and you're holding and you're praying and you have that intention and you're putting that power behind it, you most certainly are doing something that the law of God is responding to. Always and always. And so when we did find this, which we actually looked at it a few years ago, it wasn't available. Well, it finally became available, and that happened. We looked at it. We took a boat that night, and we were here the next Sunday. So it felt immediate, but there was a lot of action, persistent praying going on. In The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes writes this: there is no secret in the business of demonstrating. The only secret is the persistent ability to use the law and the determination to continue to use it until we prove it. And Ernest Holmes is very famous for saying that. Prove it to yourself if you don't believe this teachings, if you don't believe this spirituality, prove it to yourself. So I have a story to bring in here. There was once a farmer who owned an old mule. The old mule fell into the farmer's well. The farmer heard the mule braying, or whatever it is that mules do when they fall into a well. And after carefully assessing the situation, the farmer sympathized with the mule, but decided that neither the mule nor the well was worth the trouble of saving. But instead, he called his neighbors together and told them what had happened, and enlisted them to help him haul dirt to bury the old mule in the well and put him out of his misery. Initially, the old mule was hysterical, But as the farmer and his neighbors continued shoveling the dirt and it hit the mule on the back, a thought struck the mule. It suddenly dawned on him that every time a shovel of dirt landed on his back, he would shake it off and step up. And he did this blow after blow. He shook it off and he stood up. He shook it off and he stood up. He repeated this to encourage himself, no matter how painful the dirt was that hit him or distressed the situation seemed. The old mule fought the panic and just kept right on shaking it off and stepping up. And it wasn't before long that the old mule, battered and exhausted, stepped triumphantly over the wall of the well that seemed like it would bury him and actually blessed him, all because of his persistence and determination. So when life keeps throwing those learning situations at us, remember to shake it off and step up. Shake it off and step up. It truly is a great little affirmation. So you must, and Gilbert writes this, so you must keep trying. You must keep calling out to your own big magic. You must search tirelessly, faithfully, hoping against hope to someday experience the divine collusion and collision of creative communication, either for the first time or one more time. Because when it comes together, it's amazing. When it all comes together, she says, the only thing you can do is bow down in gratitude, as you have been granted an audience with the divine, because you have. So let's bring this time together this morning to a close by we have a permission statement that I want to read to you. And I've put some affirmations in with it. We're going to apply these words to a hidden treasure or a dream, intention, something you have within you that is yearning to be expressed, that wants to be called forth. And we're going to take these words and just apply them to whatever that is for you. So take that idea in your mind. And if you don't have one, just open up for your highest and best good to occur, whatever that may be. Just stay open for it. I hereby have permission. In fact, I am entitled to be curious, to explore and to create, freely and with wild abandon, with no end in mind, other than to bring joy and fulfillment. Therefore, I am persistent. I move forward into my highest good. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence and determination with God's help. I now persist into my highest good. I invite the powerful, loving action of the divine into my life, and my every need is met. I expect the best. I anticipate the best in every aspect of my life now. The work of my hands and the plans of my life are moving toward a sure and perfect completion. Miracles follow miracles, and magic, big magic, never ceases to manifest. And so let that be our prayer that we take with us this week. Let that be that no matter what happens, we are able to shake it off and to step up, to be the light, to be the joy, to be fulfilled, and to know that we have permission to live life full out all of the time. And so it is, and so we let it be.
Providence.